Today on Judge Faith, an unpaid loan causes these two friends to come to court.
I was looking for somebody that was, willing to invest into the company as an investor, as a silent partner.
Did she tell you when she asked you to help her out and to keep this money, did she tell you why?
She needed to take that money and put it somewhere because she was cashing out her 401k.
And you do understand that that is considered to be tax evasion.
And later, her neighbor hit her car and then tried to hide.
Someone rang my bell and was like, hurry up, come downstairs. Someone just hit your car. They fled the scene.
Your Honor, I did not leave the scene.
Were the police called? No, you didn't call the police. And so then you go and you drive and you back your car into your driveway. So you fled the scene. Why did you do that?
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Melissa Hazel says her former friend is refusing to pay back the money he borrowed to purchase inventory for his vapor smoke shop. She's suing for the unpaid loan balance. She is accompanied today by Denise Resinger. Defendant Christopher Monson says the plaintiff invested in his business and the business failed, so he doesn't owe her any money. He's countersuing for harassment and punitive damages.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this case is Hazel versus Monson.
Thank you, Barbara. Melissa Hazel, you are suing the defendant, Christopher Monson, for $5,900 for a loan you say he failed to repay you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are countersuing, sir, for $4,500 for harassment and punitive damages?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and I understand you also have a witness with you today?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Miss Denise Resinger?
Riesinger?
Okay. We'll start with you, Miss Hazel. What happened here? How do you know the defendant?
We were friends, and he and I had talked about formulating a business together.
And you had actually agreed to go into business with him at some point.
We had talked about it in the beginning, and at the time, I was just getting, had stopped drinking. A lot was going on in my life. I decided to check myself into an inpatient treatment facility on my birthday.
Good for you for knowing that and going into the program to get that support.
Yes.
Yeah, that's important.
So when I was going through treatment, I didn't have any family that was supporting me through that. And Chris, Mr. Munson, would come and give me my incidentals, like if I needed something, like soda pop or anything while I was in there, he would help me and bring that to me, or he would come on visiting day, to support me in my sobriety and whatnot. So that was where the trust formulated. And I kept a computer and a TV over at his place while I was in treatment. So I thought that, he was trustworthy.
Had you struggled with addiction yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, to what?
I'm a blackout drunk, and when I drink alcohol, and I've used crystal meth in the past.
Okay, and you're sober now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good for you. When did the two of you first have a discussion about going into business together? Tell me about that.
Okay, so I had, let me kind of start where the business kind of took place. In April, so I saw an opportunity out in Temecula for electronic cigarette, nicotine delivery devices and supplies. And I started a business with $2,500. And over the course of a few months, I was able to grow it significantly. And then I couldn't keep up with the customers, and so I started putting it out there that I was looking for somebody that was, willing to invest into the company, as an investor, as a silent partner.
Okay, you call it a loan. He says something else, and I'll get to your version soon, but you said in your complaint
Yes, ma'am.
that you took $17,000 out of your 401k and you put it into your bank account.
I cashed it out.
Okay, how did your witness end up getting that money and why?
I gave it to her because...
For what reason?
I gave the money to Denise because I didn't want the IRS to levy my account. They had already put a lien on my properties, so I ended up losing my home behind, you know, a lot of bad decisions.
Okay, and so you took
I
the
didn't
cash
want-
out of your account
And I
because you were concerned that the IRS was going to come and take your money, and so you put the money into your witness's account?
We put it in a safety deposit box.
Okay, but can you stand up, please? I mean, you do understand that that is considered to be tax evasion. And what is your relationship to the plaintiff?
I am like her life coach.
Okay, and her sponsor?
Yes.
Since that time, I set up a payment plan with the IRS.
Hold on
and
one
other
second.
people.
I want to ask your witness, did she tell you when she asked you to help her out and to keep this money, did she tell you why?
I just knew that she needed to take that money and put it somewhere because she was cashing out her 401k.
Okay, what did she tell you about why she needed you involved in that?
She didn't have an account, and so she asked me if I would hold that money for her for just a short time.
Coming up on Judge Faith, Chris comes clean.
There's been some good discrepancies in regards to what I really did with the money.
What does that mean when you say discrepancies?
And Melissa produces a promissory note.
He came up with the idea of putting together a promissory note. And he put together a promissory note.
Is that true?
I don't recall any promissory note, ma'am.
And later, Nicholas attempts to make Judge Faith a believer when he reveals the reason for his accident.
I hit a pothole, and the car went out of control.
There were no
It
potholes.
was not my fault. I mean, it was like an act of God or something. I mean,
No, sir. No, sir. It was an act of Nicholas. You are not God. Don't get it confused.
Plaintiff Melissa Hazel says her former friend is refusing to pay back the money he borrowed. She's suing for the unpaid loan balance. Defendant Christopher Monson says it was an investment and not a loan, so he doesn't owe anything. He's countersuing for harassment and punitive damages.
How did you and the plaintiff become involved in discussions about money as it related to that business venture?
What my perception was of this whole deal was a silent partner with us 20%. It's kind of like along the stock market. You know, I'll give you 20% return on the investment. And there's been some good discrepancies in regards to what I really did with the money.
What does that mean when you say discrepancies with the money?
Well, she's come by my place. This is kind of where my countersue kind of takes place, you know, and I felt that there was some type of additional attraction that she had towards me. And, you know, and she had come by my place on a couple different occasions and, you know, caused a scene and say, oh, you bought a sofa set, you bought a TV, you know, all these other crazy things. And
So she
that's
didn't
not
think
the
you
truth.
properly invested the money according to you. And you say that this wasn't an investment, this was an outright loan?
Yes, ma'am. He was supposed to give me back the money immediately once he was supposed to buy inventory, sell it, and then he was going to give me back my money immediately. Then he came up with the idea of putting together a promissory note. And he put together a promissory note.
Is that true?
I don't recall any promissory note, ma'am.
I mean, you don't recall as in you don't remember or it didn't happen?
I don't recall any type of promissory note.
Do you have the promissory note with you?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Let me see it.
I'd like to see that too.
Have you seen this before, sir?
Never seen it. It doesn't look like my signature, ma'am.
So you originally brought this lawsuit for $5,900 because you say that the defendant owed you $6,500, but he paid you back $600. You presented me with an original loan agreement with several signatures on the document stating that the defendant was borrowing $6,500 from you. And Mr. Munson has testified here today after looking at the signature on this document that it's not his. So he is in essence arguing that this is a forged document. Even if I wanted to believe you, I have some reservations with this case. First, you told me about your involvement with the IRS and that you owed money to the IRS in an effort to avoid and evade the IRS from collecting from you, you took that money out of your account and you gave it to your witness. Now, and I understand you had all these problems and you give me these reasons for doing so, but the IRS considers that to be tax evasion. And I don't believe your witness when she said she didn't know why you were giving her that money. And that means she's a co-conspirator to tax evasion. So that tells me you have a propensity to commit fraud when it comes to money. I am not going to dismiss your case outright. What I'm going to do, because this is what I think you need, this is a lot of money. It's $6,500. I can't order him to pay that kind of money back without knowing for sure that this is his signature. You need a handwriting expert. You need someone to look at this signature and authenticate it for you. You do that in one of two ways. You can get an affidavit or you can bring in an expert witness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dismiss your case without prejudice, which allows you to go back home and in your jurisdiction, refile this case and get the evidence that you need. I don't want to dismiss it altogether because if this is true and it is authentic, I want you to be able to collect from the defendant. I'm going to dismiss your counterclaim without prejudice as well. If she files this lawsuit again, you can also file your counterclaim. That's my judgment in this case. I'm dismissing it without prejudice.
Plaintiff Shanika Robinson says the defendant hit her car and then drove away from the scene. She is suing for car damages. Defendant Nicholas Williams says he was driving home when he hit a pothole, causing him to lose control of the car. He says he owes nothing.
Shanika Robinson?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant Nicholas Williams for $5,385 for damages to your car?
Yes.
And you understand the statutory maximum in my courtroom is $5,000?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened here? Was there an accident?
Yes. On April 25th of this year, I arrived home approximately 9 p.m. and I parked my car outside of my apartment on the street. And I went home. I was only in the house for about 15 or 20 minutes when someone rang my bell and was like, hurry up, come downstairs. Someone just hit your car. They told me what happened. He was coming out of a parking lot, speeding, and he hit the car. And he hit another car too, so there were two cars that he hit.
Your car was parked?
Yes, my car was parked.
Okay.
My car was parked minding its own business.
What did you see when you saw your car out there?
I saw fluids all over the ground, debris, my car on the curb, and I had my baby with me, so I was just hysterical. I was just like, oh my God, what happened? Who did this? Where are they?
I had this happen to me when I was in
Okay.
college. I was in college at Louisiana Tech University, and I was home for Christmas shopping, and I was in one of those big department stores in the parking lot outside. And I went out to my car to leave after I'd been shopping, and it was my first car. It was a Mitsubishi Mirage. I was paying for it myself. I had a job, I was paying for it myself. And I walked outside, and the entire back end corner of my car was crumpled in.
Wow.
And so whoever hit it, they were gone. And I know, you feel so violated.
Yes.
Because you feel like somebody has like totally taken advantage of the situation they did wrong, and then they're gone. They just disappeared. So how far is his home away from where your car was parked?
My car was maybe right by the screen.
Okay.
And he lived right here.
What did you say to him when you saw him?
I was like, what happened? How did you lose control of the car? And I mean, you're coming out of a lie. How did you hit my car? You know, he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I just lost a family member. I had a death in the family. I'm so sorry. He appeared to be under the influence of something. His eyes were really low. Mm-hmm. He appeared to be high off something.
Okay.
So he was apologetic and was like, I'm gonna make sure your car is okay. And his family was like, don't worry, he has full coverage insurance. Mm-hmm. Your car is gonna be taken care of.
Did you call
so
the
don't
police?
worry. I did call the police.
Did they come out?
They did.
Do you have a police report?
Coming up, Judge Faith digs deeper into the defendant's documents and discovers he hasn't been telling her the truth.
They denied my claim. They said because he falsified documentation.
They said you made material misrepresentations on your application when you applied for the insurance policy.
Never happened, Your Honor.
It basically means you lied on your application when you applied for insurance, okay?
Plaintiff Shanika Robinson says the defendant didn't have insurance when he hit her car. She is suing for car damages. Defendant Nicholas Williams says he doesn't owe the defendant anything because the accident was like an act of God.
How did you hit her car? How did that
Well,
even
what
happen?
happened is I hit a pothole, and the car went out of control.
There were no
It
potholes.
was not my fault. I mean, it was like an act of God or something. I mean,
No, sir. No, sir. It was an act of Nicholas. You are not God. Don't get it confused.
I mean, I wasn't driving reckless, like she stated. It's right in front of my house. I was on my way home.
And so, sir, why did you leave the scene of this accident when you hit her car that was
Your Honor,
parked?
I did not leave the scene.
Yes, you did.
Like she stated, it was right across the street. When
Doesn't matter. Were the police called? No, you didn't call the police. And so then you go and you drive and you back your car into your driveway. So you fled the scene. Why did you do that?
There was people standing outside, and they said that they called the police, so they said the police are on the way, so I waited there.
There are only two things you need to do in that kind of situation. You say, I'm sorry, you apologize, you exchange insurance information, and so she can get coverage, but you didn't do that. You went to your house and tried to act like nothing ever happened. You say you were fully covered with your insurance?
Yes.
Is this your car?
Yes.
Okay, what are we looking at?
This is the front driver's side of the car.
Okay.
That's his car.
Okay, so you had some damage on yours too.
Yeah, I have frame damage underneath my vehicle. My vehicle's not even drivable.
So what happened when you tried to get coverage through his insurance? He says he's fully covered.
I called the insurance company and they told me that I had to wait for him to submit a claim. And once that was said and done, they denied my claim. They said because he falsified documentation. His license was suspended in June of 2012.
Do you have a letter or something from the insurance company?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? So I thought you said that you had full coverage.
I did.
So what happened?
They denied her claim, I guess,
What
for
was the
repairing
reason?
her vehicle. They're saying that I was driving on a suspended license, which when I wasn't, because that night, if I was driving on a suspended license, Your Honor, I would have been
Actually,
arrested.
that's not what they said. That's not what they said at all. They actually voided your entire policy and your coverage retroactively when she submitted a claim because they said you made material misrepresentations on your application when you applied for the insurance policy.
Never happened, Your Honor.
I'm telling you what your insurance company said. This is a letter
I
from your
understand.
insurance company,
I understand.
okay? So, I mean, I could understand why you would want to deny committing insurance fraud, but I'm telling you what this letter says. And the letter says that you made material misrepresentations when you applied for insurance, and as a result, they voided your policy retroactively. So that's why she couldn't get coverage. It basically means you lied on your application when you applied for insurance, okay?
And now, Judge Faith rules.
How much were your damages?
The damages were, I got an estimate, but I got it repaired for $52.15.
May I see that, please?
Yes.
Were you drinking that
No, Your
night?
Honor.
Were you high on anything?
No, Your Honor.
Were you ticketed by the police?
No, Your Honor.
So your estimate is for $5,215. This is what you say you paid. Do you have
Yes.
proof that you paid this?
That's the proof right there. This is the estimate. The estimate is right here.
Well, this is an invoice, but I mean proof that you paid in terms of a bank statement or something showing that you paid $5,000?
No, I didn't bring anything like that.
Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I do find you to be at fault for this accident. I know you said that it was an act of God, but I find that to be insufficient. And you also said that it was an accident and it was not intentional, so you should not have to pay. And car accidents happen every day, sir. Because it's an accident does not mean you are not responsible. I do find you to be responsible. You submitted an estimate for $5,215. I know you said you paid it, but you don't have proof of it. So I am going to order him to pay you the value of your car, a 2003 Pontiac. That is a lower number, but it's the current Blue Book value of the car right now. So I'm going to order the defendant to pay you $3,000 for your car. Good luck.
Thank you.
If you or someone you know has a dispute, don't take the law into your own hands. Let Judge Faith rule on it for you. To submit your case, go to judgefaith.com and tell us your story. See you in court.